The story begins with a legendary figure standing beneath the sky, a sword resting firmly in her hand. In this country, there once existed a female knight whom everyone called the strongest. Her reputation was known far and wide. People in towns and cities constantly talked about her achievements. No matter how powerful her opponents were, no matter how difficult the battle became, she had never lost a single fight. To ordinary people, she was less like a human and more like an unstoppable force of nature. So when rumors suddenly began spreading that she was leaving the Knight Order, the entire country was shocked. Nobody could understand why the strongest knight would abandon the very organization that had made her famous. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Astrum Knights, a woman was explaining the situation to a young man named Carlo. According to her, the Knight Order had been suspended, leaving many knights without a place to belong for the time being. Carlo listened quietly, although he couldn't help wondering why this woman always seemed so harsh whenever she spoke to him. Then she suddenly asked him for a favor. Not a small favor either. She wanted Carlo to take care of one particular knight. More specifically, she wanted them to live together for a while. Naturally, Carlo was confused. But then she revealed the real reason behind her request. The goal was simple. Carlo needed to teach her what happiness felt like. And just like that, the strongest knight in the country was entrusted to him. Before long, Carlo brought the knight to his home. The mansion itself was enormous, originally belonging to his grandfather's palace. The place was so large that it almost felt empty. As Carlo guided her inside, he explained that he was the only one living there now. The girl simply listened in silence. In fact, silence seemed to be her natural state. Trying to make her feel comfortable, Carlo showed her the room he had prepared. He had genuinely put effort into it. The room contained luxurious furniture and various decorations. There was even a stuffed rabbit waiting on the bed. As she quietly sat down, Carlo suddenly began regretting the advice he had received from his sister. Apparently, girls loved stuffed animals. At least that was what she had told him. Standing there awkwardly, Carlo wondered if he had gone overboard. But although the knight remained silent, the atmosphere somehow suggested that she appreciated the effort. It wasn't obvious. She wasn't the type to openly express her emotions. Still, Carlo could tell she didn't dislike it. Wanting to be helpful, he told her that if she needed anything at all, she only had to ask. Her response came immediately. She didn't need anything. As long as she had a place to sleep, that was enough. Everything else was unnecessary. The answer was exactly what Carlo expected from someone who had spent her entire life as a knight. Still, he accepted her words without argument. And so, their unusual life together began. 1 year passed. A lot could change in a year. Inside her room, Alba sat comfortably on her bed. Surrounding her were numerous stuffed animals. The same woman who once claimed she needed nothing was now quietly spending her free time playing with them. The contrast was honestly adorable. Unfortunately for her, Carlo happened to walk in at exactly the wrong moment. Seeing the collection, he casually asked if she wanted more stuffed animals. The reaction was immediate. Alba froze. Then her face turned red with embarrassment. She quickly complained that he should knock before entering someone's room. Carlo blinked in confusion. He had already knocked. Despite her attempts to hide it, it was obvious she had settled into her new life surprisingly well. As if proving it, Alba reached for her favorite stuffed animal, a cat, and hugged it tightly. The sight alone showed how much she had changed. Sometime later, Carlo was working in the yard when Alba returned home. As usual, he welcomed her back. However, something immediately caught his attention. The clothes she was wearing. Carlo stared for a moment before asking about them. Alba casually explained that they were simply her everyday clothes. That answer only made Carlo more confused. In his mind, a possibility slowly formed. Maybe she didn't actually own any normal civilian clothing. After all, she had spent most of her life as a knight. Without thinking too much about it, Carlo suggested that they go shopping for clothes together sometime. Alba immediately rejected the idea. No hesitation. No consideration. Just a direct refusal. As she brushed her hair aside, Carlo found himself refusing to give up so easily. Seeing her struggle with her long hair, he casually offered to help tie it. Then he reached out. The moment his hand approached, Alba stopped him. Her reaction was surprisingly strong. "Don't touch." The words came out firmly enough to make Carlo freeze. Alba immediately walked away. Meanwhile, Carlo hurriedly apologized. He explained that he had only reacted that way because helping with hair reminded him of taking care of his sister. Alba eventually told him she appreciated everything he had done for her. But she also wanted him to stop fussing over her so much. Watching her leave, Carlo couldn't help feeling discouraged. Standing outside the mansion, he began wondering if she secretly hated him. Could living together really work if things stayed like this? Time passed. Another year went by. One day, Carlo was sitting on the sofa searching through some documents when Alba suddenly approached him. Noticing her standing there, he casually asked what was on her mind. Instead of answering immediately, Alba stepped closer. Then she surprised him. Holding a hair tie in her hand, she quietly made a request. She wanted him to tie her hair. For a moment, Carlo simply stared. After all, this was the same person who had once refused to let him touch her. Still, he happily agreed. As he carefully tied her hair, neither of them said much. The silence felt comfortable now. Natural. Once he finished, Carlo noticed something. Alba looked happy. It wasn't a dramatic smile. It wasn't an emotional speech. Just a small expression that spoke louder than words. At some point, without either of them realizing it, living together had started going very well. Later, Carlo noticed an injury on Alba's face. Naturally, he immediately asked what had happened. Alba explained that she had gotten involved in a fight. Since she was a little rusty, she had made a mistake and ended up injured. To Carlo, that explanation wasn't nearly good enough. He insisted they treat the wound immediately. Alba disagreed. She claimed she didn't need help. The injury would heal on its own. Carlo tried explaining that wasn't how wounds worked. Unfortunately, Alba completely ignored him and announced that she was going to take a bath first. Watching her leave reminded Carlo of the person she used to be. The Alba from years ago. The woman who always preferred handling everything alone. Back in the present, the two of them were spending time together in the kitchen. Carlo asked Alba to help chop vegetables. Just seeing her participate was unusual enough that he commented on how rare it was for her to help with cooking. Unfortunately, things quickly went wrong. Carlo suddenly noticed her hands shaking while holding the knife. A moment later, Alba admitted she had cut herself. Then, to Carlo's surprise, she asked him to take care of it. For a second, he almost couldn't believe what he had heard. The woman who once refused all help was now actively asking for it. Carefully taking her hand, Carlo examined the injury. Soon, a bandage was wrapped around her finger. As they sat together afterward, Alba stared at the food they had prepared. A bowl of stew sat on the table beside a plate of omelette rice. Looking at the meal, Alba quietly asked if Carlo was actually going to eat it. The question alone felt strangely meaningful. Years ago she would never have cared. Now she wanted to know. Later that day, Alba noticed Carlo preparing to leave. Curious, she asked where he was going. Carlo explained that he had to attend a ball for work. The moment she heard that, Alba lowered her gaze. Then she quietly asked if there would be women attending the event. Carlo admitted he wasn't particularly excited about going either. Then an idea suddenly crossed his mind. Why not invite her? He asked if she wanted to come along. As expected, Alba immediately refused. She couldn't understand why he would even consider bringing her. Carlo accepted her answer. Before leaving, however, he looked at her and complimented her appearance. He told her she looked amazing in that dress. Alba silently watched him. Then Carlo turned toward the door. He was about to leave. But before he could take another step, a hand reached out from behind him. Alba grabbed him. For a moment, everything became still. Then she quietly told him not to let his eyes wander while he was at the ball. Carlo gently took her hand. A smile appeared on his face. Promising that he would return soon, he headed out. And with that sweet moment, this part of the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Our goal is 1,000 likes, and part 2 will be uploaded within 4 days. Thanks for watching. The story continues with Carlo making another discovery about Alba's daily routine. One morning, or at least what Alba considered morning, Carlo notices movement outside the mansion. Curious, he steps outside and finds Alba already training. Even though she is no longer a knight, her sword moves through the air with practiced precision. Carlo stares for a moment before asking, "What are you doing?" Alba stops and looks at him. "Oh, you're awake. Just my morning training." Carlo glances at the dark sky. Morning training? In his mind, he can only think one thing. Morning? It's probably 3 in the morning. Most people are still asleep. Apparently, Alba is not most people. Trying to reason with her, Carlo reminds her that things are different now. You're not a knight anymore. You could sleep in a little. Unfortunately, Alba immediately shakes her head. No. I must always remain strong. The answer comes naturally. For Alba, strength isn't just important. It's part of who she is. Watching her continue training, Carlo can't help worrying. No matter how much time passes, she still pushes herself relentlessly. What is it going to take to get her to actually rest? The story then shifts to the present day. A lot has changed since then. This time, Alba is comfortably asleep in bed, surrounded by stuffed animals. The woman once feared as the strongest knight in the country now sleeps peacefully beside plush companions. Slowly her eyes begin to open. Something smells incredible. The aroma drifting through the mansion immediately catches her attention. Still half asleep, Alba hugs her favorite stuffed animal tightly before taking another breath. Whatever is being cooked downstairs smells too good to ignore. Before long, she makes her way downstairs and discovers the source. It's Carlo. He's busy preparing breakfast. The moment he notices her, he smiles. Good morning. Breakfast is almost ready. Alba quietly enters the kitchen. Carlo immediately notices that she still looks sleepy. She doesn't even try to deny it. At the same time, her excellent sense of smell is making things worse. Her stomach is practically begging for food. Seeing this, Carlo presents her with a piece of cake. I baked this morning. Help yourself. Then he reveals the source of his confidence. According to his sister, girls love sweet things. It sounded like good advice. At least in theory. Alba stands up. I appreciate the gesture, but I'll pass. Carlo blinks. I have no need for a treat. You should eat it yourself. Then she calmly walks away. The rejection isn't cruel. It's simply Alba being Alba. Still, Carlo can't hide his disappointment. After all, he really wanted her to enjoy it. The story then jumps forward. Later, Carlo returns home and notices something unusual. Alba is sitting quietly in a chair. And in front of her is the exact same cake she claimed she didn't want. The moment she notices Carlo looking at her, she freezes. Then she quickly tries to hide the evidence. Unfortunately, it's too late. Carlo walks over with a smile. That's the cake I made yesterday. Alba immediately becomes awkward. Meanwhile, Carlo feels surprisingly happy. The fact that she actually ate it means more than he expected. She accepted his effort. Even if she couldn't admit it directly. Trying to act normal, Alba holds the plate toward him. I saved some for you too. The gesture catches Carlo off guard. But instead of taking it, he simply smiles. You can have the whole thing. The response immediately gets Alba's attention. The whole thing? Her eyes widen. For a brief moment, all attempts at acting calm disappear. She looks genuinely delighted. In fact, she begins imagining herself eating the entire cake by herself. The thought alone seems to make her day much better. A little later, Carlo decides to invite Alba somewhere. He wants to show her the beautiful mimosa tree. So he asks if she would like to take a walk with him. To his surprise, she quietly agrees. Although walk might not be the word Alba has in mind. The moment they leave together, she immediately starts acting more like a bodyguard than a companion. Still, Carlo successfully gets her to come along. As they make their way toward town, people begin staring. And honestly, it's easy to understand why. Alba's presence is overwhelming. Even without armor, she gives off an intense pressure. Years of battle have left a powerful impression on everyone around her. The townspeople can't help looking. Walking beside her, Carlo finds himself looking at Alba as well. Not because of her reputation, but because she's beautiful. There's also something incredibly dignified about the way she carries herself. Even while simply walking through town, she stands out. Eventually, Alba notices him staring. Immediately, she calls him out. Carlo snaps back to reality. Then Alba asks a question that perfectly reflects her way of thinking. Are you looking for an opening to attack? The question catches Carlo completely off guard. He immediately panics. No. He quickly denies it and apologizes. To Alba, years of combat have shaped the way she views the world. Even now, her instincts never fully switch off. The story then returns to the present day. The two finally arrive near the mimosa tree. Spring has arrived. Flowers sway gently in the breeze, creating a calm and peaceful atmosphere. Looking around, Carlo smiles. Spring is finally here. As he says those words, his gaze naturally drifts toward Alba. And that's when he notices something. She looks happy. Not the distant Alba who first arrived at the mansion. Not the woman who insisted she needed nothing. The Alba standing beside him now is different. She's brighter, warmer, more expressive. Little by little, she has changed. Realizing he's staring again, Carlo quickly apologizes. Unfortunately, Alba notices immediately and points it out. The situation becomes slightly awkward. At the same time, Alba casually remarks that he still hasn't left any opening. Even during a peaceful walk, part of her mind remains focused on combat. But Carlo notices something else. something much more important. Alba seems unusually prepared for this outing. The more he thinks about it, the more obvious it becomes. She didn't simply agree because he asked. She had actually been looking forward to this walk from the very beginning. And for someone like Alba, that realization means more than words ever could. If you want part 3 of the story, just give me 300 likes, thanks.